morning, everyone. My name is Kaji. We're about to start the morning bell chant. If you'd like to follow along, it's on page 3 of our chant books. And this chant is the time you start chanting is after it says homage to Amitabha Buddha. And after we're finished chanting, we will observe noble silence until the end of service. Thank you. Vowing that the sound of this bell pervades the universal Dharma realm, bringing luminous white light to the black iron perimeter of hell, removing in an instant the suffering caused by the 3 evil ways. A mountain of swords is destroyed, and all sentient beings enter enlightenment together. Homage to the Master Teacher, Vairocana Buddha, compassionate Lord of the lotus-born universe, expounding the treasured verses of the sacred golden texts contained within precious cases, written on jade scrolls. Each dust mote interpenetrates, and the universe becomes one. Every realm is united with all other worlds. The truth is contained in the 1,095,048 words of the utmost vehicle's consummate teaching. Homage to the Abhitamsaka Sutra, expounded by the Buddha. To understand the Buddhas of endless time, just penetrate this phrase: everything is created by mind alone. The mantra of shattering hell. Namu Atashijinam Samyak Samotijichinam Om Baba Jiri Jiri Hum. Namu Atashijinam Samyak Samotajichinam Om Baba Jiri Jiri Hum. Namo Atashijinam Samyak Samotijichinam Om Baba Jiri Jiri Hum. Vowing now for the rest of my life not to give rise to extraneous thoughts, following only Amitabha Buddha. Thought after thought will constantly merge with the rays of his jade-like brilliance, each instant never leaving the qualities of his golden form. Holding a mala and bearing witness to the universal Dharma realm, empty space is but a thread, leaving nothing unconnected. There is nowhere that Vairocana Buddha is not present equally. Through contemplation, seek Amitabha of the Western Shore. Homage to the great teaching master, Lord of the Western Shore, the Buddha, the Tathagata of infinite light. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. The land of ultimate bliss has 10 kinds of adornment. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. It is adorned with Dharmakara's vow, his cultivation cause. Homage to Amitabha Buddha, adorned with the power of Amitabha's 48 vows. Homage to Amitabha Buddha, adorned with Amitabha's name and the brilliance of his life force. Homage to Amitabha Buddha, adorned with the bejeweled images observed by the three Mahasattvas. Homage to Amitabha Buddha, adorned with the peaceful bliss of Amitabha's Western world. Homage to Amitabha Buddha, adorned with bejeweled rivers running with pure and meritorious waters. Homage to Amitabha Buddha, adorned with bejeweled basilicas with halls of wish-fulfilling jewels. Homage to Amitabha Buddha, adorned with lengthy days and nights. Homage to Amitabha Buddha, adorned with the Pure Land's 24 kinds of pleasures. Homage to Amitabha Buddha, adorned with 30 kinds of beneficial merit. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. Amitabha Buddha, who is unparalleled in heaven or on earth. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. He is also unmatched throughout the worlds of the 10 directions. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. He has seen the annihilation of self in everything in the world. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. There is no one who is like Amitabha Buddha. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. He can keep track of thoughts as numerous as all the dust motes in the universe. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. He can quaff all the waters in the universe. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. He can control the wind that fills space. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. No one can completely describe that Buddha's merits. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. Amitabha Buddha is omnipresent. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. Keep your thoughts on him and never forget. As thoughts probe that place of no thought, the 6 sense gates will constantly emanate light of purple and gold. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. Amitabha's face, like the full moon, is at the front of the hall of ultimate bliss. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. His jade excrescence and his gold form radiate through space. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. If a person call his name for only a moment, they will instantly consummate immeasurable merit. Homage to Amitabha Buddha. Along with all sentient beings, I vow together to enter the sea of Amitabha's great vows and to ferry across sentient beings so that I and others may simultaneously complete the path to Buddhahood. The sublime mantra of the original mind of Amitabha Buddha. Tanyata Om Aritara Savaha. 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 Tanyata Aritara Savaha. could have our incense lighters come up, and we will open to the front page and recite our incense offering. And together we say, in gratitude, we offer this incense throughout space and time to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May it be fragrant as earth herself, reflecting careful efforts, wholehearted awareness, and the fruit of understanding, slowly ripening. May we and all beings be companions of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May we awaken from forgetfulness and realize our true home. Inviting the sound of this bell. May the sound of this bell penetrate deeply into the cosmos. In even the darkest spots, may living beings hear it clearly so that the suffering will cease, understanding arise in their hearts, and they can transcend the path of anxiety and sorrow. Namo Shakyamuni Buddha. Good morning, everyone. It's so nice to see so many faces on this Easter morning, and the sun is shining. Before we begin, I just wanted to remind, it doesn't look like we have any small children, so I'll skip that announcement. If you find the need to rearrange your seat or use the restroom, just do so as quietly as possible. We'd like to remind you not to walk in front of the dais. If you can walk behind, we'd appreciate that. And as we chant, we encourage you to be upbeat and tempo and have a breath of life. So why don't we stand and greet each other silently? Then we will open our booklet to page 7 and recite our refuge commitment. And I encourage you to follow along if you feel comfortable, but if not, just observe. I go for refuge to Buddha, my deeply awakened mind, the living source of understanding and compassion, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to Dharma, the path of mindful living, leading to healing, joy, and enlightenment, the way of peace, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to the Sangha, the loving and supportive community of practice, realizing harmony, awareness, and liberation, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I am aware that the 3 jewels are within my heart. I vow to realize them. I vow to understand living beings and their suffering. I vow to cultivate loving kindness and compassion, and to practice joy and equanimity. I vow to live simply and sanely, content with few possessions, and to keep my body healthy. I vow to let go of all worry and anxiety in order to be light and free. I am aware that I owe so much to my parents, teachers, friends, and all beings. I vow to be worthy of their trust, to practice wholeheartedly so that understanding and compassion will flower, and I can help living beings be free from their suffering. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. Turn over to page 8 and chant the Heart Sutra. Dhamma prajna paramita hridaya sutra. The Bodhisattva of great compassion from the deep practice of prajna paramita perceived the emptiness of all 5 skandhas and delivered all beings from their suffering. O Shariputra, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form. Form is emptiness, emptiness form. The same is true of feeling, thought, impulse, and consciousness. O Shariputra, all dharmas are empty. They are not born nor annihilated. They are not defiled nor immaculate. They do not increase nor decrease. So in emptiness, no form, no feeling, no thought, no impulse, no consciousness, no eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, mind, no form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or objects of mind, no realm of sight, no realm of consciousness, no ignorance, nor extinction of ignorance, no old age and death, nor extinction of them, no suffering, no cause of suffering, no cease from suffering, no path to lead out of suffering, no knowledge, no attainment, no realization, for there is nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva holds on to nothing but prajna, paramita. Therefore, the mind is clear of any delusive hindrance. Without hindrance, there is no fear. Away from all perverted views, one reaches final nirvana. All Buddhas of past, present, and future, through faith in prajna, paramita, attain to the highest perfect enlightenment. Know then the prajna, paramita, is the great Dharani, the radiant, peerless mantra, the utmost supreme mantra, which is capable of allaying all pain. This is true beyond all doubt. Proclaim now the highest wisdom, the prajna, paramita. Gate, gate, para gate, para samgate, bodhisvaha. Gate, gate, para gate, para samgate, bodhisvaha. Gate, gate, para gate, para samgate, bodhisvaha. Dharma, prajna, paramita, hridaya, sutra. Please be seated. Welcome again, everyone. My name is Kaji, or also known as Shane. Go by either name. Today is the second part of my Dharma talk. Last week, it was entitled, We Are the Bodhisattvas That Spring Up from the Earth. And today, the Dharma talk is called, How Long Has the Buddha Really Been Teaching? So I'll go for people who are new. Actually, again, I like to backtrack to the Heart Sutra that we just chanted for anyone who's new. Prajna paramita, what does that mean? That means wisdom. Prajna is wisdom. Paramita is the perfection of. So the perfection of wisdom. And it is given to us by the Bodhisattva of compassion. So we have wisdom and compassion. They come together like the wings of a bird to take flight. And the end of our chanting, we chant gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisvaha, which roughly translates to gone beyond the beyond, awake. Woohoo! So it's something to my teacher would always give a little bit of commentary on the Heart Sutra. So I like to do that as well. Anyways, getting back into my talk, today is also Easter, which we don't really celebrate Easter in the Buddhist tradition, but ironically, this talk has a lot of similarities, and if you are familiar with the Christian tradition, you'll kind of see that. So a happy Easter to anyone who celebrates. The recap of my talk from last week has to go back into the Lotus Sutra, which is a foundational text in the Mahayana Buddhist canon. We have the Buddha is sitting at Vulture Peak on this giant mountain, and all of his students, lay students, different creatures. It even says dragons and all these mythical. It's very grandiose. All come together, and he's teaching to all of these beings. And as he's going on talking about skillful means, he's telling everyone that they're actually bodhisattvas, and they will eventually one day become a Buddha, awakened, and that we all have this within us. And he gives so many parables. So together there's 7 parables in the Lotus Sutra. And the first one he gives is the burning house, which I won't get into, but it is a very good parable if you ever look into those quotes. The Buddha is sitting there teaching, and throughout this sutra, a giant stupa comes out of the actually from the air, and it has abundant treasure Buddha, an ancient Tathagata. And I'd like to say the Tathagata, you hear that, it is a name of the Buddha that he goes by, and it means thus come and thus gone. So the Buddha comes into this world and he leaves the world. At least that's what it seems like. And so he goes by the name Tathagata. And so we have this giant stupa coming from the ground, from the earth, from the sky. And all of these bodhisattvas and other Buddhas are coming from different star systems, different dimensions, and they're all surrounding the Buddha Shakyamuni, the Buddha of our eon, of this eon, who is teaching this sutra of skillful means, and how he teaches, and to understand and to get the meaning behind what he's trying to convey. And anyways, I have a quote from Thich Nhat Hanh. Thich Nhat Hanh, I just found this book called Open Heart, Compassionate Action, Open Heart, which is his commentary on the Lotus Sutra. And even though I've been studying for about 7 years, this is the first time I found this book. So I have a lot of quotes from it. And one thing he says is the idea of the first half of this sutra is historical, and the second half is the ultimate, which transcends and goes below the idea of time and space. So we're here, all these beings, there's so many of them, but they fit comfortably. They're not, they're not squished, even though there's countless beings. And so last week I talked about these beings wanting to share the sutra. They plead to the Buddha, can we venerate the sutra and help spread the teachings? And the Buddha sits there and gently says, no, actually I have beings here in this earth who can teach this. And the earth shakes in 4 ways, and these bodhisattvas, innumerable billions, trillions of bodhisattvas come up from the ground, and it's a very shocking image. And so Maitreya Bodhisattva was in the assembly and seeing all this, and he's like, I've never met any of these bodhisattvas. Where did they come from? And there was 4 leaders, and I'd like to say the leader was, one of them was steadily established practice, pure practice, limitless practice, and superior practice. The first one corresponds with our 4 vows, our 4 great vows. All beings, one body, I vow to liberate. Endless blind passion, I vow to uproot. Dharma gates without number, I vow to penetrate. And the great way of Buddha, I vow to attain. So each 4 of these bodhisattvas has a retinue of hundreds of thousands, and the analogy is they're compared to the sands of the Ganges, which is a long river in India, and each has 60,000 worth of rivers of Ganges of followers. So it's just, you can't even put your head around it. It's an incredible amount. And so these bodhisattvas are coming up from the ground, and Maitreya Bodhisattva, who is said to be the next Buddha of the next eon, after Shakyamuni's teachings have been no longer shared in this earth, Maitreya will come up. And Maitreya is sitting here saying, he musters up the courage. He has the guts to ask the Buddha, where do these come from? Where do these bodhisattvas come from? And the Buddha sitting there, and he appreciates the question. He says, thank you, Maitreya. And then Maitreya again asks, he asks 3 times. There's a lot of 3s in this in these chapters, just to kind of get the point across. And he's like, you were only enlightened about 40 years ago. This was the time when the Buddha was very old, and he was around in his 80s, and he was about to pass away into nirvana. And he said, you were only enlightened about 40 years ago. And so how did you teach all these beings? It's like as if a 25-year-old man pointed to a 100-year-old man and said, hey, that's my son. And the 100-year-old man said, hey, that's my father. And it didn't make any sense. And Maitreya, because he could see the doubt in a lot of the assembly, and he was worried that in the future, people would have doubt about this, he asked the Buddha, how have you been teaching all these beings? How long has the Buddha really been teaching? And so, setting up the scene, the Buddha answers, and if we can look at the sutras as like a map, I heard this analogy and I thought it was really helpful. The sutras are a map, and the compass is this chapter. So if you only have a map, you may be lost. But having this compass to orient your way to north, this chapter 16 points the way north. It's also a lot of the sages say this is the most important chapter of the Lotus Sutra, the heart of the Lotus Sutra. And the first time I heard this was at a all-night sitting from my teacher. Daquan was giving a all-night sitting for the Buddha's enlightenment, and I heard this and I was just blown away by the implications of how long the Buddha has actually been teaching. So I would like to read a part of the sutra, which I have actually marked this time. So you should all listen carefully to hear about the Tathagata's secret and divine powers. In all the worlds of the humans, heavenly beings, asuras, think that the present Shakyamuni Buddha has left the palace of the Shakya clan, sat at the place of the way, not far from the city of Gaya, and attained supreme awakening. But my good sons and daughters, in fact, there have been many innumerable, unlimited, hundreds of thousands of billions of myriads of eons since I became a Buddha. Suppose someone were to take 500,000 billions of myriads of countless 3,000 great thousandfold worlds and ground them to dust. Then, after going in an eastward direction, 500,000 billions of myriads of innumerable lands, one of those specks of dust was deposited. So just imagine you grind countless worlds into dust, and you're just dropping one every so often. And suppose he continued eastward, and he had used up all those specks. What do you think, my good sons and daughters? Is it possible to imagine or calculate the number of those worlds? Maitreya Bodhisattva and the others said to the Buddha, World-honored one, those worlds are innumerable, unlimited, beyond the reach of calculation and beyond the reach of thought. Not even all the Shravakas and Prakriti Bhuttas and their flawless wisdom would be able to imagine or understand such numbers. Shravakas and Prakriti Bhuttas are just followers of the way of the Buddha, just different names for them. And we too, though we are at the stage of non-regression, cannot comprehend the matters. World-honored ones, such worlds would be innumerable and unlimited. Then the Buddha said to all those bodhisattvas, great ones, good sons and daughters, now I will speak to you clearly, as if he wasn't speaking clearly already. Suppose you took all those worlds where a speck of dust had been deposited and where none had been deposited, and reduced them to dust. Let one speck be equal to an eon, a geological era, if you will. The time that has passed since I have become a Buddha exceeds these by hundreds of thousands of billions of myriads of countless eons. Since that time, I have been constantly in this world, preaching, teaching, and transforming. And in all other places, in hundreds of thousands of billions of myriads of countless other lands, I have led and enriched living beings. Good sons and daughters, this time I have talked about the Buddha, burning light, and others, and have told their entering nirvana. In all this, I use skillful means to analyze things. Good sons and daughters, whenever living beings come to me, I use the Buddha's eyes to observe whether the faculties of their faith and so on are keen or dull. Accordingly, I appear in various places under different names and speak of the length of time during which my teachings will be effective. Sometimes I tell them I will enter nirvana. In various skillful ways, I teach the profound and wondrous Dharma, leading them living to rejoice. And so, as the Buddha teaches, he meets you where you are. He gives examples. That's why we have so many different sutras, so many different texts. And if this text doesn't jive, there may be another text that you can relate to. And so this profound teaching, these bodhisattvas, this is the first time he's told this to his followers. So it's kind of like very hard to comprehend. So he continues to explain. Good sons and daughters, the Tathagata sees that among the living there are those who prefer lesser teachings and are of little virtue and are defiled. And for those people, I teach how I was a young man, I left home and attained supreme awakening, but in reality, the time since I became a Buddha is very long. As I have said, it is just that I use skillful means to teach and transform living beings, so that they may enter the way of the Buddha. Good sons and daughters, all the sutras preached by the Tathagata are for the purpose of saving all living beings. Sometimes I speak of myself, sometimes I speak of others, sometimes I speak as myself, sometimes as someone else. Sometimes I appear in my own actions, sometimes in the actions of others. But all that I say is true and not empty. So the Buddha can be anyone you meet on the road. Anyone can be a teacher. The person that is getting angry at you at the grocery store or cuts you off in traffic can teach you patience and not to have your temper get out of control. And so the Buddha is saying here that he can meet you where you are and any situation in life. And of course, he always asks a question, and I appreciate that. Why is this? The Tathagata has insight into the character of threefold world of its reality. For him, there is no birth or death, neither retreat from nor emergence into the world, nor is there any existing in the world and entering extinction following that. Nothing is simply real, nothing simply empty, nothing, it seems, nothing the opposite. The threefold world is not as we experience it. The Tathagata sees all such things clearly, without mistake. Because living beings have different natures, different desires, different activities, and different assumptions and ways of analyzing things. And because I wanted to lead them to put good roots of goodness, I've used a variety of causal explanations, parables, and other kinds of expressions to share various teachings. I've never for a moment neglected the Buddha's work. So again, he's saying that everyone has a different way of understanding. We all have different upbringings, different perceptions, different backgrounds. So each person, he meets them where they are. Thus, since I became Buddha, a very long time has passed, a lifetime of innumerable, countless eons of constantly living here and never entering extinction. Good sons and daughters, from the beginning I have practiced the Bodhisattva way, and the life is not yet finished, but will be twice as long as what I have already passed. Even now, though I will not actually enter extinction, I announce that I will adopt the way of extinction. By using such skillful means, the Tathagata teaches and transforms living beings. Why is this? If the Buddha lives for a long time in the world, people with little virtue will not plant roots of goodness, and those who are poor and humble origins will become attached to the five desires and be caught in a net of assumptions and false views. If they see that the Tathagata is always alive and never extinct, they will become arrogant and selfish, or discouraged and neglectful, unable to realize how difficult it is to meet him, and will not have a respectful attitude towards him. So he's saying here, if he's always around, people will get lazy and not practice wholeheartedly because he's always here, so they will start to regress in their practice. Therefore, the Tathagata teaches by skillful means, saying, monks, you should know that it is difficult to meet a Buddha who has come into the world. Why is this? In the course of countless hundreds of thousands of billions of eons, some people think of little virtue may see a Buddha, while others may never see one. For this reason, I say this, monks, it is difficult to see a Tathagata. Living beings hearing such words surely will realize that it is difficult to meet a Buddha. They will yearn for one, and they will cultivate good roots of goodness. This is why the Tathagata announces his extinction, even though he in reality does not become extinct. Good sons and daughters, the teachings of the Buddha Tathagatas are like this, for they are for the sake of liberating all beings. They are true and not empty. So he continues to say they're true, not empty. And empty here, they don't there's nothing lacking. Emptiness in our you hear in our practice in the Heart Sutra that everything is empty. And in this case, emptiness is actually meaning fullness, that everything is interconnected, being. Nothing can exist without something else. So after he says this, he continues on with this idea of just this it's almost outrageous to think of how long he's been teaching. And Thich Nhat Hanh kind of explains it a little bit better than I can, so I will take a portion out of his book, and this is in the words of Thich Nhat Hanh. One day, while practicing walking meditation in the upper hamlet of Plum Village, I looked down and saw that I was about to step on a golden leaf. It was in the autumn when the golden leaves are very beautiful, and I saw the golden leaf. I did not want to step on it, so I hesitated briefly. But then I smiled and thought, the leaf is only pretending to be gold, pretending to fall from the tree. In terms of the historical dimension, the leaf was born on a branch as a new green bud in the spring, and clung to that branch for many months, changing color in the autumn. And one day, when the cold wind blew, it fell to the ground. But looking deeply into the ultimate dimension, we can see that the leaf is only pretending to be born, to exist for a while and grow old and die. The teachings of interdependence, no self, reveal to us that true, unborn, and undying nature of all phenomena. One day that leaf will pretend to be born again on the branch of another tree, and she is really just playing a game of hide and seek. And it reminds me of the Gatha of no coming, no going, where we die but we don't really die. And the Buddha says, I'm extinct, but not really. It's almost like it sounds like he could be eternal, and eternal is kind of a loaded word in the Western in our Western culture, but he's saying that it's more of a he's just here for a very, very long time, and he hides for a while when people are becoming lazy and not following the teachings and stuck in greed, anger, violence, delusions. So he leaves the world, and he gives a very powerful parable in this chapter. It's the parable of the physician. And so there's this physician who has many sons and daughters, and they are they somehow drink poison, like the three poisons of anger, greed, and delusion. And so the father makes a beautiful concoction of a remedy that smells fragrant and that tastes good. And some of his children take it, but not all of them. Some are too far gone, and they are stuck in their delusions. They're stuck in their anger, and even at this, the father is asserting, please take this medicine. It will help you. It will cure you. They don't listen. And so the father decides skillful means, and he leaves. He tells his children he's leaving. I'm going to leave this medicine here with you, but I have to go. And because he has gone, he says, he tells a messenger to come back and that he has passed away. And the children are grief stricken, and they take the medicine right away. And then the father comes back and says, I have told you this so you would take the medicine. I did not. It was a skillful device, and I can see this as being very powerful. Grief has a very powerful way of waking us up. When my grandmother passed, I was grief stricken, and I had kind of gone into a very dark place, and it helped me to see again the impermanent nature of this reality, and strengthen my practice at the end of the day. And it was this grief that the Buddha had used to help his children wake up. And in this parable, or in this whole sutra, the Buddha is seen as a parent, a loving father or a loving mother who just wants to take care of his children. And he helps them by explaining them different parables, different skillful means he has used in the past. I'd like to quote Nichiren. I brought him back up here. He is a Japanese monk who has very venerated the Lotus Sutra, and he has a quote: "The I represents the living being of the Dharma realm. I here refers to each and every being in the 10 worlds. The thus come one in the living beings are the 3 worlds. Thus come one refers to all living beings. You should understand that the ultimate meaning of this chapter is that ordinary mortals, just as they are in the original states of being, are Buddhas." So this chapter reminds us that we do have this Buddha nature. The previous chapter shows that we have everything inside of us. We don't need to look outside of ourselves for this truth. We just need to brush it away, to use to be continually going deep and practicing. And as you know, the lotus grows within the mud. No mud, no lotus. And once the lotus starts to spread and open its leaves, it becomes a beautiful, fragrant flower. And that's a good analogy for this practice of this golden nature within us, that we have this Buddha nature. So there's the major themes of this are abundance. There is so much. We have here the idea of countless number of eons that the Buddha has actually been teaching. and that everything is interconnected. The sunlight, the trees, the birds, each one of us, we are all intimately, deeply connected. And this whole sutra presents the truth of the middle way, that hope, trust, and confidence. And again, the Buddha says this 3 times when he is asked the question. They ask him 3 times, and he says 3 times, hey, this is the truth. I know it sounds very outrageous, but this is the actual truth. And that this moment is infinite and boundless, including all moments. So the present moment is where we are and where we will always be. We can't get lost in the past or dwell on the past and get lost in the future. But this present moment is all that we really have. And then the earth is this pure land. Again, another quote from Nichiren. As for the transcendental powers, the action that are carried out instant by instant, motion by motion, by us living beings are regarded as transcendental powers. The countless things in the 3,000 realms that undergo the process of birth, abiding, change, and extinction are all themselves embodiments of transcendental powers. So this earth is the ground of our awakening. We are born here and we will pass away here, and this earth is where we come to practice. There's another quote from the book Peaceful Action, Open Heart by Thich Nhat Hanh that continues this idea of playing hide and seek. We are also playing a game of hide and seek with one another. It is not only the Buddha who pretends to be born and enters nirvana. We also pretend to be born, live for a while, and to pass away. You may think of your mother that has passed away and is no longer here with you, but her passing away just is a pretense, and that one day, when the causes and conditions are sufficient, she will reappear in another form or another. If you have enough insight, you will be able to recognize your mother in her other forms. You need to look deeply into all those we love and recognize their true nature. We love our teacher, our father, our mother, our children, our brothers and sisters. And when someone we love passes away, we feel great sorrow and believe we have lost that person. But ultimately, nothing is lost. The true nature of those we love is unborn and undying. If we can be in touch with the ultimate dimension, we shall smile with the yellow leaf, and we can smile at all other changes that take place in our lives. So with the help of their teacher, the disciples on this vulture peak saw into their own true Buddha nature. And just as the lifespan of the Buddha is limitless, so too is the lifespan of all beings is limitless in the ultimate dimension. And so, again, this idea is just very dense. We have the three marks of existence, which are no self, impermanence, and the idea of nirvana, going into this blissful land. And the Buddha also uses 8 outer forms of realization, and he uses the of being born, coming into the womb, being born, getting in touch with the suffering of this world, becoming a practitioner, following the path, attaining enlightenment, teaching the Dharma, and then entering nirvana. And then we practice in order to see that these outer forms of reality are only magical appearances. In fact, the Buddha is not born and does not die. That it is true Buddha nature and everything else. We look deeply enough into any phenomena, a pebble, a drop of dew, a leaf, a cloud, and we recognize its ultimate nature in the 3 Dharma seals of impermanence, no self, and interdependence. In this way, we can discover its true nature of no birth and no death, which is exactly the same as the true nature of the Tathagata. A beautiful golden leaf in the autumn is also just putting on a magical show for us. First, the leaf pretends to be born in the springtime. Later, it pretends to fall down to the earth and die. As far as the phenomenal world is concerned, we believe that leaf comes into being and then passes away. But in terms of the ultimate dimension, birth and death, coming and going, existence and non-existence are only a magical display, a mere appearance. And this book, Peaceful Action, Open Heart, is just full of these beautiful analogies, and it really helps me understand this chapter, which is very heady. We all remember the story of the Buddha. He comes to he was born and as Siddhartha, and he sees suffering in the world. He sees the old man, the sick man, the dead man, and then the person that is trying to the ascetic who is trying to discover the reality of this world and try to figure it out. And after he sees all that, he decides to leave home and practice. And he practices for 6 years until he actually sits down and decides to sit underneath the Bodhi tree. And there he has his awakening. And he teaches for 40 years after that. And the Buddha here and the Lotus Sutra is saying that is just a skillful means of me telling you so you can practice wholeheartedly. But in reality, I've not gone. And it kind of gives me hope. And it in this dark world of shootings and earthquakes and all the things that have been happening, we have this hope of practice, this community of practice, our Sangha, the teacher, the Buddha, and then the teachings, the Dharma, the three jewels are always with us. And this helps kind of solidify that and gives us, again, hope and inspiration. Thich Nhat Hanh says in his book, a few years ago, I was asked by a journalist in Holland, "Ty, you are now over 70. What do you want to do before you die?" From the perspective of the ultimate dimension, I could not answer her question. I don't feel that there is anything I have to do before I die, because I don't see that I will die. Since I began the practice, I enjoy everything I do, and I have always done everything I want to, teaching, sharing the practice with others, helping my students, build sanghas everywhere in the world, and so that individuals, communities, nations may realize the path of freedom, peace, and joy. I once wrote a poem. The work of building will take 10,000 lifetimes, but dear one, look. That work has been achieved 10,000 lives ago. This is speaking from the point of view of the ultimate dimension. Do you need to become a Buddha? Do you need to run after enlightenment? The wave does not have to seek to become water. She is water. Right here and right now, in the same way you are already nirvana. You are already a Buddha. You are already what you want to become. That is essential. What is essential is to enter the path of practice in order to realize this truth and help others realize it too. So this practice, again, it's hard, especially when you start and you're new to the practice, to realize that you already have everything. And that's why we practice. We continue coming to the cushion. There in the Heart Sutra, it says there's nothing to attain because we already have it. And just this reminder, I need to be reminded this daily. And that's why I have a sitting practice and a teacher. And these teachings have been passed from the Buddha to his student, Mahakashapa and Ananda, and so on. And you can see over here, we have all of the ancestors from all the way from Shakyamuni Buddha to our last teacher, Hung Su. And Hung Su was my teacher and passed the torch of Dharma to me. So it's blood to blood, hand to hand, mind-to-mind teaching. And that's how we keep this alive and in the world and share the teachings. And so sharing these is what I appreciate is coming up here and speaking on that. And I just have just a few more passages from this book that I thought were so meaningful I wanted to share. In the terms of ultimate dimension, the lifespan of the Tathagata is immeasurable and infinite. Yet, even though the ultimate reality of the Buddha is not born and does not die, nevertheless he pretends to be born, to exist for a while, and to enter nirvana, to show living beings of this world how to take care of themselves. The Buddha gives us spiritual medicine we can use the healing and transformation of our bodies and minds. The practice of mindfulness now is to help us take that medicine and practice diligently so we too can get in touch with the ultimate dimension and recognize our true nature of no birth and no death. So this teaching is the medicine that he has given to his children. And in a sense, we are the children of the Buddha. And so one of those ailments of medicine is meditation. So we use the mindfulness practice to come back to the breath, come back to the heart. We have to use mindfulness in order to touch the ultimate dimension. When we notice a yellow leaf underfoot during walking meditation, it is an opportunity to look deeply into its nature of no coming and no going. When we breathe mindfully, we are in touch with our breath and body, and we all already feel different than before. Using mindfulness always appears to us more clearly. The practice of mindfulness is the path that leads us to the ultimate dimension. When we practice mindfulness in our daily life activities, working, gardening, cooking, washing the dishes, greeting guests, we are in touch with the phenomenal world very deeply, much more deeply than when we do not have mindfulness. At the point of the ultimate dimension, we can begin to show itself to us. And so the ultimate dimension reveals itself either vaguely or clearly to us, depending on the quality of our mindfulness. Sometimes we have mindfulness only for a moment. Sometimes we can maintain it for 2 to 3 minutes. If we look at a cloud mindfully and are able to maintain our mindfulness for 3 minutes, for those 3 minutes, we have concentration, also known as samadhi. When our practice of mindfulness is solid and steady enough, we are able to keep the lamp of samadhi alight. And from moment to moment, whether we are in the kitchen, the bedroom, the bathroom, or office, we can sweep the courtyard or drive our car. In all these actions, we can maintain the bright flame of samadhi. Practicing this way, we get in touch with our own true nature, which is exactly the same as the Buddha's, unborn and undying. Just as the yellow leaf and everything else we see around us in this world of appearances, we too are participating in the infinite lifespan of the Buddha. And so I would like to take a moment to practice mindfulness with everyone. It'll be a short meditation because I went a little bit over time. But so just get yourselves ready for meditation. We bow. And at this point, we will have our joys and concerns. We like to share as a Sangha anything that has given us joy or things that we have concerns about. So I'd like to open the floor up to that.
I'd like to share a joy that we are so very happy, Peter and I, to see our good friend Yang Su back where he belongs after a bit of a delay, and look forward to his next Dharma talk.
I have a joy I would like to share. I got the job that I was talking about a while ago, so I'm really excited for that. I start on the 24th. Woohoo! Wish me luck. Yeah. Anything from online? Oh, okay. If no other joys and concerns, I will ring the bell and we can hold those. Good. Oh, yeah.
I found my best thing.
Oh, good.
Alive.
Good.
He'll be opening up the hole tomorrow.
Good. Thank you. Just hold those joys in our hearts. Now, our announcements. Does anyone have any announcements?
Hello, Sangha. My name is Anthony. I think today me and Anna are planning for a walk afterwards at Millennium Park. If anybody wants to join, you can. And then also I just joined the Grand Rapids Food Co-op. It's about opening a 10,000 foot square building in downtown Grand Rapids somewhere that is going to be a nonprofit, all community owned. They want to support local farmers and just people that produce products for us. So it's all going to be locally funded and owned. And I just all the food's going to try to be local as much as they can, and then whatever filled in with just normal food. If you go online to GR Food Co-op, all the information's on there. It's a $250 buy-in on it. But at any point in time, you can tell them and they will buy it back from you. So there's no hassle with that, I guess. So it's not an investment. It may be an investment for you, but I'm looking at it for a donation to change the community and stuff like that. So just go online if you're interested. I can bring more work next week on it. So thank you.
Thank you, Anthony.
I didn't have far to go to run the mic to myself, I guess. This week, well, good morning, Sangha. My name is Jeremy. This week, it's my pleasure to say a couple of words on Dharma. As some of you may know, in Buddhism, Dharma is the practice of cultivating generosity. Our temple and everyone associated with it our temple is run entirely on a volunteer basis and through donations. And everyone associated with it, no one receives a compensation or a check of any kind. Therefore, the temples operate solely on Dharma from the generosity of the community. If you would like to take part in cultivating Dharma, in supporting the temple, there are a few ways that you can do so. There are Dharma boxes at each entrance at the front and rear of the temple where you can drop cash or check. There is a QR code on each box that links directly to PayPal. If you're watching on YouTube, there is under the video is a show more button, and there's a drop down screen and a link there to donate. And also anyone can go to our website, zengr.org/donate. Thank you all. Good to see you all today.
Thank you. Any other announcements before I go on to the weekly announcements? All right. So for the month of April, our Grand Rapids Board of Director meeting and all Sanghas members are invited to observe is the third Sunday of each month from 11:30 to 1 p.m. And it meets at the temple or if virtually on Google Meet. We have Buddhist-based recovery meetings here, Mondays at the temple, Wednesdays at the North Club, and Friday mornings at the temple or via Zoom. And more information you can get with me or Yang Su. April online meditation group. Every Wednesday in April, we are starting the 5th. So last week, next we'll have it every week from 7:30 p.m. 7:30 to 8:15 p.m. And that's meets via Zoom. You can contact Reverend Kunga for more information. Introduction to meditation class is next Saturday, April 15th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. It meets here at the temple, and registration ends on the 8th. So I guess if you have any interest in that, you can always contact Igesu. I don't know how many spots we have open. Exploring Women's Truth, a spiritual wellness group, meets for 5 Sundays, starting April 23rd at the temple from 1 to 2:45 p.m. And the registration ends April 16th. Contact Susan McFarland. And we have a silent meditation retreat, Reflections on the Shin Shin Ming. It starts Friday, April 28th through Sunday, April 30th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. On the Friday, and then all day the other 2 days. It meets in person at Oxbow School of Art in Saugatuck, and the registration ends on the 13th. So that's coming up. And then to contact Kunga or in person, you can contact Yangsu, who is leading the retreat. For more details or of events, visit zengr.org or sign up for our weekly newsletter. And we will end in our normal fashion of reciting our final gathas on page 9. Please stand. Stretch out your feet. Oh.
The retreat will start on Friday around 4 p.m.
Oh, okay.
More details.
Thank you. We say together, for all unskillful actions ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thoughts, now I atone for them all. Vast is the robe of compassion, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Buddha's teachings for the benefit of all sentient beings. All beings, one body, I vow to liberate. Endless blind passion, I vow to uproot. Dharma gates without number, I vow to penetrate. The great way of Buddha, I vow to attain. Vow to one another. And then I just ask that we arrange our cushions, fluff them up, and make them look presentable. And please return your chant books to the front of the page and place the incense offering and in front and hand it off to anyone who wants to collect. And I want to invite anyone who wants to come down. We have hot tea, and we can get together and get to know one another. So thank you all for being here.